I want to tell you about a phone call that I had a few months ago. A buyer had reached out from Phoenix. She had been researching the Twin Cities for almost 6 months and had everything set and ready to go. She had a spreadsheet. She had a list of suburbs that were ranked by school district. She even had a price per square foot breakdown that she had gotten from Zillow. She was locked in, ready to go. But within 5 minutes of our first phone call, I realized that she had almost everything backwards. And that's not because she hadn't done the work. She definitely did do the work. She just didn't know the questions that she was missing. And that is exactly what I want to talk to you about today, because if you're thinking of relocating to the Twin Cities, this video is the conversation that I wish that I had with every single person before they made their journey here. Hi, I'm Mackenzie Rasmus, your local real estate advisor with Engel & Volker's Minneapolis. I make so many of these videos talking about relocation, so if you want more of these, be sure to subscribe. I feel like we do a pretty good job with these. All right, now the suburb question is the wrong first question. The first thing almost every buyer wants to ask is some version of, do I do Edina or do I do Plymouth? Do I do Maple Grove or do I do Minnetonka or Wayzata or Eden Prairie? Nope, stop. Those are good questions. We will absolutely get there, but they're the second question, not the first. The first question should be, what is your day-to-day life look like? What do you want your life to be like when you move to the state of Minnesota? Here's why that matters. The western suburbs are incredibly beautiful here in Minnesota. You got high-rated schools, excellent parks, lakes everywhere, strong communities, and reasonable prices compared to what you may get elsewhere. But they're not identical, and the differences matter a lot more than just where they are on a map. If you're commuting into Minneapolis, the 394 corridor is your main artery. Minnetonka, St. Louis Park, Hopkins, Plymouth, those are the cities that you want to be looking at. In normal conditions, that commute is totally manageable. In a Minnesota winter, though, on a bad morning, it is a different experience. Now, that's not a reason to avoid the suburbs by any means. It's just something to build into your decision. Now, if you're working remotely, the calculus does shift entirely. Now you're optimizing for community feel, maybe potentially lake access, walkability to your shops, restaurants, coffee shops. That's what I mean when I say you're thinking about what does your actual day-to-day life look like. And then by doing so, that opens up places like Wayzata, Excelsior, Chaska, Victoria even. Areas that people that are going to have to commute downtown are frankly just going to overlook because of where it's located. So before we talk about which suburb, I want to know, what are you going to be doing on most days? How much of your life is happening and being shaped by what is happening outside of the home? That answer changes everything. Now, I know you've heard about the winters. Everyone tells you about the winters before you move here. And you move here and then you realize that the winters are actually fine as long as you are prepared. But here's what buyers from the warmer climates don't know about when they're looking for a home. And this is actually something that can save you a lot of time, energy, and money. Heated garages. Now, this is not a luxury up here. It is a quality of life add for sure. And if you're looking at homes in a 2-car garage that doesn't have heat, that's a conversation of either adding it in or accepting that your car is going to be cold and your pipes do potentially have more risk, and your morning routine in January, well, is going to involve some extra steps. Not a deal breaker, but it's worth knowing what you're getting involved with. Mechanical age. Now, a furnace will work hard here. It is what it is. It's a tough climate for a furnace and HVAC system to be in. A furnace that's 18 years old in Phoenix might have a lot of life left. A furnace that is 18 years old in Minnesota, yeesh, you better get that puppy looked at. When we're looking at homes together, I always want to know how old the furnace is, how old all the mechanicals are, what the service dates have looked like, and that way I can look for any red flags. There are things that the inspection will flag, but knowing them before you write an offer will make you negotiate smarter. Basements. Now, the Twin Cities has a very strong, can you call it basement culture? I'll call it that, basement culture. We have basement culture here in Minnesota. A lot of homes here have a basement that are used as a real living space. It is a family room, it is a guest suite, a home office. If you're coming from a market where basements are just storage or don't exist at all, this can actually be a pleasant surprise. The question is always, though, water intrusion. And how is it going to be addressed if it comes up? None of this, by the way, is meant to scare you. I just want you to be prepared when you're going in and looking at these homes. All right, now the price comparison trap. If you're doing any research at all, you've probably seen videos or articles comparing what your budget will buy you in different cities. And the Twin Cities, looks pretty good on paper compared to the others. But here's the thing I want you to be careful about. Your money goes further here but that doesn't mean that you won't face competition. Bring in the Twin Cities. Oh my gosh, if you're a realtor that's watching this, pop in the chat about how busy you are. I feel like everything is going into multiples. Listings that are priced well, that are in desirable suburbs, are getting multiple offers. Buyers who think they can have all of their cake and eat it too, they may be thinking that they're going to have a more affordable market. They sometimes get caught flat-footed. April and May are especially when things move quickly. By the way, about the inspections, Minnesota buyers have a very strong inspection contingencies that are written into the purchase agreement. That is largely true. But in a multiple offer situation, how you structure your inspection and how you structure the ask matters a lot. There are conversations here that we would have before we even write an offer. Now, timeline expectations. If you're planning to move in August, you don't start looking in July. The inventory you want will be gone by then. Buyers who land well are usually ones who start their search in late winter and then get pre-approved early and then get ready to move when the right home comes up. That might mean that you're under contract in April for a late June close. That's completely normal here. Now, this is the one thing that surprises relocation buyers the most, though. I have had this conversation a lot of times now, and the one thing that this comes up more than any other thing is a genuine surprise to the people that move here. It's how much of a community each of the individual suburbs actually matters to the people that live there. This sounds so vague, so let me actually make it concrete. Wayzata is a small lakeside town that has a genuine downtown. It's walkable to coffee shops and restaurants, and there's strong community events, and there is certainly kind of an intentional lake style that is built along the shores of Lake Minnetonka. People who live there for those reasons, and they choose it because of it. Maple Grove is a completely different experience. It's one of the fastest growing suburbs in the state. It has excellent schools, it is extremely convenient, and has, I swear, great retail and restaurants is like the shopping mecca in the western burbs. Neither is better. They are just attracting different people. And buyers who end up unhappy in their suburb almost always choose based on arbitrary things like school ratings or price per square foot without actually asking what does the actual daily life look like for a person living here. Seeing a hint here, this is a common theme. So one of the first things I do with relocation buyers is have that conversation that has nothing to do with the actual house. What do you do on a Saturday morning? Do you like to go for a walk to get coffee? Or you prefer to drive somewhere? Are your kids going to be traveling with you? These answers matter because these answers map to suburbs, and they matter more than any arbitrary rankings, in my opinion. Now, where the Phoenix buyer ended up, she ended up in Minnetonka, not Edina, which was her original top choice, not Plymouth, which was second on her list, Minnetonka, which she hadn't seriously considered, but the school rating was slightly lower than what they were expecting with Edina, so that wasn't necessarily on their list to begin with. But when we talked her through the actual life, it was clearly the right fit. She worked remotely, she wanted walkability, a community feel, and proximity to the lake. So she's actually texted me 6 months after closing saying it was the best decision that she made. So if you're in the early stages of thinking and you have questions on what your strategy would mean for you, give me a ring. You can book a call with me. That Stan store is in the description below. Once again, I am Mackenzie Rasmus, and it is so great to have you along. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.